A radio communication from George Russell that was never meant to be broadcast ended up on air due to human error in the Formula One control room. Someone pressed the wrong button, and millions of viewers heard the Mercedes driver scream at his own team with a fury that left everyone speechless. But the most shocking thing isn't what Russell said. The most shocking thing is what this outburst of rage reveals about the internal psychological war at Mercedes between Russell and his 20-year-old teammate, Kimi Antonelli. Because according to a former Formula One driver, Russell has a problem that no engineer and no technical upgrade will ever be able to solve. He can't find the anger needed to beat Antonelli. And the reason is so paradoxical it sounds made up, but it's all absolutely real. Antonelli is too likable to hate, and this isn't a joke. It's the serious analysis of a 7-time Grand Prix winner who knows exactly what it takes to win a world championship. The incident happened during the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps. Russell's race ended at the first corner after a collision with Lewis Hamilton at the entry to Les Combes corner. The Briton got stuck in the gravel and his race was already over. But what happened afterward was far more significant than any on-track incident. Russell attacked Mercedes over the radio with impressive verbal violence, complaining about the state of the charge on the Kemmel Straight and the lack of battery, calling the situation completely unacceptable and accompanying his words with heavy insults directed straight at the team. The tone of the communication was so aggressive that the team had to cut the radio link to avoid further embarrassment. But by then, the damage was done. Russell's words had already been picked up and recorded by the international broadcast. Subscribe to the channel and leave a comment, because in a moment, I'll reveal how this communication made it to air and who made the mistake that created one of the most embarrassing and talked about scandals of the entire 2026 Formula One season. Journalist Julianne Sarasoli visited Formula One's operational headquarters and discovered exactly how that radio broadcast reached the public. Sarasoli investigated with Formula One's technical crew and found out it was Sky Germany that broadcast that message. Sky pays enormously higher fees than other broadcasters for TV rights, and this grants it privileged access to content that normally stays confidential. But in this case, the broadcast wasn't intentional. A technician in the control room pressed the wrong button at the wrong moment, and Russell's private audio was made available. Sky Germany simply seized the opportunity and put it on air, aware they had exclusive and potentially viral content in their hands that no other broadcaster in the world possessed. The news spread immediately on social media, and millions of fans heard the Mercedes driver completely lose control of his emotions live, worldwide. Mercedes said it understands Russell's frustration, but internally the situation is far more tense than the team wants to show publicly. The numbers speak clearly. Russell was considered the favorite for the world title under the new 2026 regulations. He's won 2 races and taken 5 podiums. But he's third in the championship, 59 points behind Antonelli. The pace difference between the two drivers has been called alarming by paddock observers, with former team principal Guenther Steiner using a devastating comparison, saying Russell looks like he's driving a heavy, slow Cadillac, while Antonelli is driving a real, light and responsive Formula One car. A humiliating comparison for a driver who, until a few months ago, was considered the absolute favorite for the world title, and who now finds himself chasing a kid with half his years of experience in the championship. Like this video, because the next analysis from Juan Pablo Montoya on the psychological war between Russell and Antonelli is something you've never heard before in the world of Formula One. And here we come to the most fascinating and unsettling part of this story. Juan Pablo Montoya, 7-time Grand Prix winner, analyzed with impressive clarity the dynamic between Russell and Antonelli, and identified a deep psychological problem that goes well beyond the raw speed and technical skill of both drivers. According to Montoya, the biggest difficulty for Russell isn't his teammates' speed. The biggest difficulty is that Antonelli is an extremely likable and kind person, and this makes it nearly impossible for Russell to find the aggressive motivation needed to destroy him on track. Montoya explained the concept very directly. He said that when your rival is fast and at the same time an unpleasant person, it's much easier to build up anger and use it as fuel to create the momentum needed to crush him. The rivalry becomes personal, adrenaline rises, and every overtake becomes a matter of wounded pride. But when your rival is fast and at the same time one of the kindest people in the paddock, That anger simply doesn't come. And without that anger, the killer instinct that separates good drivers from world champions is missing. Montoya gave examples from his own career, recalling that his best performances always came when he had an opponent he viscerally hated, and that emotional tension automatically turned into pure speed on the circuit. Montoya also suggested a strategy for Russell. He said the Briton needs to find a way to match Antonelli in terms of pure performance. If Russell manages to reach his teammates' level, this will put the young Italian in an uncomfortable position he isn't used to. Antonelli has dominated the first half of the season without ever feeling any real pressure from his own garage. If Russell started beating him regularly, the 20-year-old could find himself, for the first time, in a situation of real pressure and start making mistakes he hasn't made so far. Montoya's reasoning is simple but effective. Antonelli has never had to handle a teammate at his level at Mercedes in 2026. If Russell found a way to match the performance, the whole psychological dynamic of the team would change drastically. Comment below on who you think will win the World Championship between Russell and Antonelli, because the psychological dynamic between these two drivers is becoming one of the most fascinating stories in recent Formula One history. Meanwhile, Russell made an important personal announcement during the summer break. He asked his partner Carmen Munt to marry him, and she said yes. Russell shared the news on social media with 4 photos and an engagement ring emoji. The post received thousands of congratulations, including a message from Antonelli himself, a gesture that shows once again how hard it is for Russell to build an aggressive rivalry with a teammate who publicly congratulates him on his engagement while simultaneously beating him in the World Championship. Russell follows the example of Ferrari's Charles Leclerc, who got married earlier this year after getting engaged in 2025. Mercedes, meanwhile, is facing an uncomfortable reality. The team won the first 6 races of the season and seemed destined to dominate the championship unopposed. But in the last 5 races, Ferrari has won twice, and McLaren once. Mercedes' advantage is visibly shrinking, and former driver Stefan Johansson has warned that the championship is far from decided. According to Johansson, Mercedes had a huge advantage at the start of the year, but the rivals are increasingly understanding how to handle the new cars, and this is significantly rebalancing the competition. The new 2026 aerodynamic and engine regulations initially created an advantage for Mercedes, but as the races go by, rival teams are closing the gap at a pace that seriously worries the Brackley team. Antonelli holds a 50-point lead over Hamilton in the Drivers' Championship thanks to his incredible streak of 6 wins. Mercedes also leads the Constructors' Championship with 72 points over Ferrari. But with 12 races still to go and the rivals constantly closing in, the second half of the season is shaping up to be the most contested in recent years. Russell will return to track at the Dutch Grand Prix engaged, 3rd in the championship, and aware that to beat Antonelli, he'll need to find something he currently lacks. Not speed, not talent, not experience, but that primal, instinctive anger that turns a good driver into a ruthless champion, capable of doing anything to win. The question is whether Russell will manage to find this inner strength against an opponent who respects him, admires him, and congratulates him. And if he doesn't, the 2026 title will belong to Antonelli. See you in the next video.